Welcome. I'm so delighted you are here. And I am Katrina with Healthy Free Life. And Nancy is here to share her story of success, how she has not only overcome cravings, she has also shed excess weight, she has overcome depression, and so much more. You're going to be so inspired by her story, and you are going to want to tune in to exactly what she is doing and has done to achieve what she has, because guess what? It's been easier than anything she's tried before. So let's go ahead and dive in. Nancy, welcome. I am so glad you're here. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
So Nancy, just share a little bit about you. Just let the listeners know a little bit about you.
I'm a wife and married for 35 years. I have 3 grown sons, and early in my career I was a nurse, and I was able to stay home with my children, so that's what I've been doing the rest of this time.
Love that. So retired nurse, I'm right there with you.
Mm-hmm.
So you have overcome so much in your life. I want to take our listeners back to those struggles that you experienced before your healthy free life journey. And what was it that you struggled with before regarding your health in your life?
Well, besides the depression, it was just constant sweet cravings. My whole life, I feel like that has been my story. And I was drinking diet soda nonstop 40 years. That's just a long time. And just the depression I couldn't shake for very long. It just a lot of negative self-talk and just feeling defeated, and
Mm,
it didn't make sense to me because I didn't have the kind of life that you would think would lead to depression. And I know the Lord, and I felt like I had so many things going for me, but I still could not make any progress.
it was there like a cloud, it sounds like, in your life
Hmm.
always.
Yeah.
And so, had you ever thought that the diet and the lifestyle that you were living was contributing to that depression? Was that ever something that you had connected the dots to?
I just thought I couldn't get my eating right, and so I was gaining weight, and that's what was making me depressed. I didn't connect the sugar with the depression. That was a real eye opener to me.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, if you could go back and embody Nancy before her journey started, what was life like? Like, how did it make you feel?
I think I just would just as soon avoid people if I
Mm,
could. I didn't look forward to things in my life, which is sad. I just was always looking at life, let's just get through the next thing, just get through
mm,
the next thing, and then I'm going to feel better. But I
mm.
never did. There was
No.
always one more thing.
Yeah. And so sugar played a role in that. Did sugar provide you with those kind of like momentary things that would give you that little relief from that depression, to give you that momentary just high or experience? Or how did sugar, why did you reach for sugar?
I don't know why I reached for sugar. I suppose it's the pleasure of it.
Yeah.
Actually, my earliest memory as a child was climbing up into the kitchen cupboard for chocolate chips.
Yeah.
And so it's been there forever. Why I was drawn to it, I don't know. It must be the pleasure of the sweetness of it.
Yeah, we're wired for it, really. We're wired for sweet things, but the problem is that in our current modern pantries and grocery stores, it's just anywhere and everywhere, and we can
Yeah.
access it all the time versus 200, 2,000 years ago, it wasn't the case. And you're definitely not alone in that. So thank you for sharing those struggles there. So had you tried anything before to overcome? You had excess weight and even the depression and just trying to conquer cravings. Was there anything that you had tried?
I have gone through the low fat diets, the low carb diets. My sister was pre diabetic, so we kind of did the diabetic type diet. I've tried excess walking. I've tried strenuous videos, and for the depression, I was put on an antidepressant for a
Mm.
while. So those are some of the things I tried.
Did the antidepressant help to lift some of that?
It did seem to help. Fortunately, I had some bad side effects from it, and I
Mm,
was told to go off of it about the time I was probably a month into healthy free life.
hmm.
And I was told to go back on it after a period of time, and I was feeling so good that I didn't.
Yeah. Yay.
I I didn't follow probably good medical advice, but
If the goal was to reduce your depression, you were able to do that on your own with diet and
yeah,
lifestyle,
right.
then this is where medication, prescription medication has its place. But if there are alternatives that we can do to help support a healthy life that doesn't require medication, that's all the better. We often, Chris and I, this is just an aside, Chris and I often joke that we heard this somewhere, but at the end of prescription medication commercials, ask your doctor about how diet and lifestyle can help you with depression, but it's just not the case. Okay. So you made a decision 2 years ago to start your journey to a healthy free life. So you stepped on the healthy free life way path and you made that determination and you started your journey towards health. And what I'd love to know is, how did you specifically use the tools of Healthy Free Life? How did you use them to help you to begin to overcome some of these things? Because we're going to talk about your life now and the results that you've experienced as you have gone on this journey to health. But what were some of the things you did early on to help to overcome cravings, and then what did that lead to?
The one thing I started with was drinking more water and just slowly backing down on the soda and upgraded to sparkling water to fill in. That was probably the biggest thing I started with. And then I had already been walking, so I continued that. Um, and then I was just trying to take your lists of glorious foods and see what meals I could put together within the guidelines. And as I slowly brought more and more of that in, I noticed my cravings were becoming less and less, which is like a miracle.
Amazing. I know.
Yeah.
It's amazing, right? That's awesome. So you began taking the teachings and adding in the glorious foods one by one and began to upgrade what you are already doing, drinking more water. Now, was giving up the soda, the Diet Coke, was that challenging, or did you feel that the water, the sparkling water, the upgrade to the with the foods, was that an easy transition for you? Oftentimes people don't think it is.
It was actually easier than I would ever expected because I've tried to get off of it before. I knew it wasn't the best thing for me, but I was just never able to get past that
Yeah.
craving.
Yeah, and what most people don't realize is that aspartame, that is the sweetener in Diet Coke, is actually something that actually causes cravings. It could actually increase weight and cause cravings. It's crazy to think about, but science is showing that it does more harm than good when it comes to weight and
Right,
cravings. And here we are
right.
thinking that we're doing the good thing, drinking Diet Coke over regular Coke. And oh my goodness, how we have been fed a wrong bill of goods. Am I right?
Mm, that's for sure.
So it doesn't sound like it took much effort then for you to begin to see a decrease in cravings.
No, no,
So,
it happened pretty early on.
yeah. So, would you say it was a couple of weeks, a couple of months? How long was it before those cravings really began to start not controlling your life?
I'm sure it was within the first month. I can't remember if it was weeks, but in the
It's
first
been,
month for
that's
sure.
amazing. Yeah, it has been 2 years since you started that journey, which is just incredible. So you just continued on your journey. You continue to add in God's glorious foods, but then you also began to develop the habits that we talk about here at Healthy for Life. So the habits of our spiritual health and of resting and of hydrating, which you already talked about, but sleep and movement and exercise and eating. And so tell me about that journey. You began to incorporate the habits. Is that right?
That's right. When I started with the metabolic workouts, I did the 15 minutes 3 times a week, and I could barely get off the floor. I felt like most of the 45 seconds for each segment, could barely get up.
Yeah.
And I just kept going. And then I just progressed from there to the slowly to the 30 minutes. And then when I felt like it wasn't challenging me that as much, I would increase my weights or the strength of the bands. And so I'm continually upgrading that. When I feel like I can move from intermediate to advanced, I do that. And
Yeah.
so it's very custom, can be customized, which is really nice.
Absolutely. For no matter whether you're a beginner that has trouble getting off the floor to somebody who now needs more of a challenge because
Mhm.
they are so much stronger. That's amazing. But I love the spiritual habit that became closest to you, and that was your spiritual walk with the Lord. So can you talk about that journey and what you've experienced over this last couple of years as it relates to your relationship with?
I have been in the habit of reading my Bible regularly for a while now, and it's easy to get into it just being a check off list. I read this part of the Bible and then I put it away, but I've spent more time meditating on the Word and really asking the Lord to show me what He wants me to get out of it. And then as part of, I've learned from a mind standpoint, I've had to work on memorizing scripture.
Mm,
And as I'm bringing that into my life, it's pushing out those negative thoughts, the lies that just kept me bound
yes.
in depression,
Yeah.
and just more diligent in prayer, just all those things that have really, I would say, renewed my mind
Mm, it's
and
so true.
transformed my thinking.
Yeah, and it's so true. And this is why I love that we have the habit inside the Healthy Free Life Way where we are focusing on our spiritual health because we always want to continue that journey with the Lord. And I think what most people don't realize is that our journey to health, when we ask God and we invite Him into the process and we continue to rely on His strength and to continuously renew our minds, it goes hand in hand. They support one another and they help us along the way. And most people don't understand that their journey to losing weight and to health can actually be one that brings them closer to the Lord. And you're evident of that, which is just amazing. So you mentioned about the cravings you ease after you were adding in God's glorious foods, the cravings began to diminish. After you added in water and sparkling water, that began to push out the diet soda that was bringing you harm. You also just talked about how the lies that you believed through the power of the word and memorizing scripture have begun to push away. So this is what I love is as we pour in these good things,
Mhm.
that they begin to push out the bad things. And this is
Right.
not a diet. This is not where we just willpower our way through to do this 30-day, 60-day, 90-day thing and think that we're going to be able to maintain it on the other side. It's more like a way of life that leads to incredible things in our life, results that are more than just weight. Like
Mhm.
you experience more than just weight loss. So I want to talk about your weight loss, but first let's talk about some of the non-scale victories that you've experienced. Now you've been with Healthy Free Life and inside the academy for 2 years now. And so let's talk about some of the results you've experienced.
I definitely have more energy. My husband has noticed that. I think I sleep better. I think that's probably my biggest struggle. I used to be up 3 hours a night most nights because I
Mm-hmm.
couldn't sleep, and now that rarely happens. I would still like to sleep 8 or 9 hours. I'm not there yet, but I do see progress there. I found it interesting that after 25 years on my thyroid medicine, they actually reduced the dosage, which is encouraging to me. I feel like my thyroid's in a better health.
Excellent.
Um,
Yeah, most people don't
um,
realize once they're diagnosed with hypothyroidism that there's any chance that there's that could be helped or supported through diet and lifestyle to begin to potentially reduce medication, if not even get off of it. So that's incredible. I'm so glad you experienced that. And so you were going to say what else?
One of the wins is just becoming more self-aware of what triggers me,
Mm,
and just and building strategies that help me to get through those things, like putting things in place to avoid falling in those situations and
yeah.
just going to the Lord with Lord, I know this is coming up and this is a hard time for me. So
Right.
I'm going to need your help with this.
Awareness is key. Awareness is huge for us to just
It
bring
is.
awareness to our situation instead of feeling so just a victim to the habitual nature of some of these thoughts and feelings and actions that we have, but to bring some awareness to them, but then also to recognize that God wants us to go to him. Like, this is our weakness, is a chance for him to have the stage in our life, for him to have the power in our life, for him to show himself strong. And this is something that the word is clear that he understands our weakness, and he also knows his strength. And that's incredible that you are doing that. You had mentioned that your depression is much less. So how is life now as far as it relates to your emotional health? How are you feeling now?
I'm feeling great. I would say probably in the last 2 years, I probably only have had a couple times where I felt more down, but it doesn't last very long, like a day or two. And I usually can tie it to if I've allowed sugar to creep back into my life.
Yes.
So I that's the first thing I try and deal with.
And what a great motivator to keep us on the right path, to not allow that sugar to come back in and take its hold once again. Because it's like when you're feeling good, you're just like, I'm not willing to give that up. And people don't necessarily think that I have some sort of a superpower where like I could just eat healthy all the time and I love it and I want to. And it's one of those where it becomes a lot easier when you feel good. When it's like when what you eat and how you live, when it serves you and gives you energy to do the things that you want, and you're not burdened through your day by things like depression, by things like anxiety, by things like just mental brain fog and low energy. Like, these things are burdensome. And when you get relief from that, you don't want to give that up. And that's where I love that you brought awareness, but then you're like, okay, I think sugar is the problem here. And it helps us to make better decisions next time. It doesn't always guarantee that we won't ever go back to the sugar, but it does help us a lot more and very significantly. So you have experienced some weight loss as well. So as a result of, adding in God's glorious foods, decreasing cravings, which then decreased your sugar consumption, ditching the Diet Coke, and now drinking sparkling water, and all of these healthy habits of your spiritual health and sleep, as well as exercise and movement, all these things that you have now, all these habits that are now serving you, this has led to some weight loss for you as well. So can you share a little bit about that success?
I lost a little over 50 pounds.
Amazing.
And so I'm just maintaining that up and down a little bit. And I just almost don't recognize myself. It's an adjustment to get used to a different person that I have been all these years.
Yeah, you're different inside and out.
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing? And so you have lost then 50 pounds, but when was it that you had reached that goal of 50 pounds of weight loss?
That was a year ago, October.
Okay, so you were about a year into the program, had lost 50 pounds, and then you've continued to be able to maintain it over this last year, which that is the key, is that a successful diet is deemed how successful, like after you complete the diet, how were you able to maintain it and sustain it 1 year or even 5 years later? And so to answer the question, you would say yes, that you have been able to maintain it. Has it been challenging? Do you feel like you've been dieting this whole time? Does it feel hard?
It doesn't feel like a diet. I wish I could do things perfectly. I'm a perfectionist by nature. But I've really learned that perfectionism is not on this side of heaven. So we're just going to go for progress and the small wins. And I fall and I get back up. And I ultimately, would I like to lose a little bit more? I would. But maybe right now the Lord just wants me to work on this part of my life just to learn how to maintain, which I've never been able to do. So
incredible. And it's when we're able to figure out how to maintain, it's so much more lasting. It's so much more lasting, which is incredible. Yeah. So that is wonderful. If you could describe Because you say that this has not been something you've ever been able to maintain before. So how would you say the Healthy Free Life Way and how would you say the Academy is different than anything that you've tried before?
I would say just a big thing is the habit formation. I mean, I maybe had knowledge in a lot of these areas, but without the habit formation, it seems like I didn't have the tools to get to where I wanted to go. It seemed like all or nothing, but with the baby steps, it was achievable. It was doable, and it didn't seem like it was this big mountain I had to climb. It was just take the steps, just keep doing it, whether you see results right away or not. And that was very helpful. And the nutritional teaching with just the oils, I wasn't aware that different oils being toxic, and just it was just helpful, the nutritional teaching that you gave. And those were probably, oh, the exercise too was new to me. I always knew that strength training was important, but how to incorporate it with the aerobic part of it. So that was great. And it didn't take a lot of time, which
Amen.
I loved, because seriously, who likes to exercise? Probably not too many people.
No, there's a few, but they're different. They're different than us. We're not them. No, I get it. Chris is one of them, but not me for sure. So wonderful. So is there anything else you wanted to share? Like, how is life like now? You're 2 years later. Just describe life if you could. What it's like now.
I've always read the verse about God desires to give you life abundant. And now I'm starting to understand what that means, because I feel like I'm learning to enjoy life, and just I feel like the lenses on my glasses got cleared, and I'm seeing life the way God wants me to see it. And the other thing that has come out of this is I think I have something to pour out into others. I was so inward turned for so long, and just an awareness that kingdom work is vital. So, and how I take care of my health and how I look at life, and it just plays a part into what I can do for the Lord. So that's been, that's how my life is now, I guess.
That's amazing. It sounds abundant indeed. So where you've gone from living a life that was burdened and not free and not living abundantly to now a life of freedom and abundance. And God's not finished with you, and He's not finished with me. He's not finished with us. And so let's take His hand and embrace what He wants to do to restore us. And so you're not done until your time here is done, and keep moving forward. I'm just so proud of you, Nancy, for the work that you have done and the blessing that you are now able to be to others. Nancy, thank you so much for sharing your story today. It was a joy to talk with you, and I can't wait for others to hear all about it. All right. Thank you so much for tuning in. I am so delighted that you got a chance to share Nancy's story. Now it's your turn. Now it's time for you to step on the path to a healthy, free life. And we're here to support you every step of the way.